Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Slot One Super Podcast. We are back for episode number 28. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit of a different episode considering the circumstances.
Yep.
So for today's episode, of course, joining me as per usual, we have the boys, Mass Ningen and Minato's Flash. Say hello, gentlemen.
Yo, how's it going, everyone?
Yes, sir. And, of course, myself, Dokkan Assets. Today, we are, of course, going to be talking about Dokkan a little bit in the beginning of the podcast, but we kind of wanted to take this episode more so just to reminisce about Dragon Ball and sort of give our thoughts and obviously just pay homage to Toriyama himself. So that is what we are going to do for this episode. Thank you guys all for being here today. Obviously, this was very out of the blue news, so of course you're not expecting it, but it just feels like the right thing to do. So, with that being said, let's get the Dokkan shenanigans out of the way. First, we did not have too much that dropped within the last week. Obviously, we did have Dokkan Fest Frieza actually release, but obviously we kind of talked about him last week. So in terms of this week, probably the main thing that we had was the JP update for the AGL Bardock and the Super Strike Chilled. I know that there has been quite a bit of discussion about the Bardock within the community. I know me and Ningen are both big Bardock fans, so we were happy to see this guy get an EZA. But I'm not sure if either of you haven't got a chance to use this guy, because obviously his EZA is not out yet, but if you got any of the early shenanigans, what are your thoughts on Ningen? You know, you being the Bardock guy as well, how you feeling about this one?
Yeah, it's unfortunately I really wanted him to be really good because not just as a Bardock fan, I quite liked the unit when he first came out. He released at sort of a weird time where he was never like crazy good or anything, but I didn't think he was as bad as he seems to have a bit of a reputation for being. So it's kind of one of those things where I really wanted his EZA to be good, just to kind of like silence the haters, basically. But unfortunately, it's not particularly great. I did do an advanced showcase for him, but it's one of those things where I did it kind of giving him his best case scenario. So it was like versus Red Zone Golden Frieza. I brought a couple of low class warriors on the team, like the only ones who are still even somewhat relevant anymore, which is the 23rd World Tournament Goku and Path to Power Kid Goku. But like, you know, Path to Power Kid Goku, even with his like 7 orbs and everything, he's still getting one shot by like the new level of toughest bosses that we have in the game. So I think that's probably the biggest problem with his design, is that in his base, if you don't have low class warrior allies and you end up getting, you know, the worst case scenario RNG where he just does one super a turn, he does not build up as quickly as he would need to. But I mean, if you do get the luck come through, like in the video that I did where he had the low class warrior ally and stuff, I think I had 2 turns where he triple supered. So then by the time he transformed, he's got basically 1 million defense start of turn, and the transformed version can kind of be okay, but he's just not anything particularly mind-blowing. So unfortunately it's a little bit disappointing. It's kind of a weird spot because he's obviously, in terms of the community and our knowledge, because, you know, Kefla is global only at the moment, but as far as we're all concerned, like, this EZA is releasing after Kefla, even though it's releasing on JP before her technically. But yeah, it's just the comparison between the two is just like night and day. And it's not like every single new release should be way more powerful than the previous like best one, but they should be at least kind of on a similar sort of level, especially for JP. This is the first Dokkan Fest EZA post anniversary, and it just doesn't feel like he is super good for like the content that came out during the anniversary, which is a bit of a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Still love his transformation animation, but you know,
Absolutely.
that's
Need to
basically
go.
it.
I hope we do get updated animations of this scene because that would be awesome. But maybe for Saiyan Day, which we can discuss a little bit in a bit. But Minato, have you had a chance to use this guy, test him out?
Yeah, I feel disrespected though. I'm one of the biggest Bardock fans ever, dude. Like,
Really? I didn't know that.
I'm a huge Bardock fan, actually. I don't really talk about it that much, but I like Bardock a lot.
Wait,
I think it's
really?
cool.
Even I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Again, I don't really talk about it. Like I used to talk about like Gohan or something. But,
Yeah.
like,
Look
it's
at that.
Bardock.
Brothers in arms for
Bardock is, like,
Bardock.
top
You love to see
5.
it.
Let's go.
I love Bardock so much. So it's
Good stuff.
it's funny because someone called me a Bardock hater. I'm like,
Yeah.
just like, I'm like, okay, but I'm less favorable on this Bardock. Again, he could work. His base form is just like pathetic. Like it's like 300k defense, 400k defense, and then you're like turn 5, and you're like, oh, then you transform to Super Saiyan. He can be decent, but he's kind of like a dodge merchant, where it's like, you know, you have that 48% chance to dodge. You could dodge a super. We could take normals once he super attacks. Like it's not terrible in Super Saiyan, right? And does like 10 mil attack stats ish, so you can do triple 10 mil. You could put in a little work there. But it's like, again, he looks fine if we're like comparing him to like 2023 EZAs, and then we look at Kefla, and then we're like, well, you know, I just feel like his base form does not match up what the 9th anniversary constant wants. I mean, in base form, he's not even able to tank normals from these first phases of these events because you don't have low class warriors allies. Like, who are you running in low class warriors? Like, you know, some people
Yeah.
are gonna be like Pat
Yeah.
Target Goku, 23rd World Tournament Goku. You're not running them anymore, unfortunately. Like, you can get away with him, 23rd World Tournament Goku, I would say, but it's like with these revives, you want to use them at the end of the fights, not waste it. So 23rd World Tournament Goku is safe throughout the entire fight.
Yeah.
And that's the issue with 23rd World Tournament Goku now, is that like I think in the Fusions of Zamasu meta, these fights were shorter. So using a revive and then getting like a top 10 level character in the game, that's fine. But now it's like these phases, they're 3 to 5 phase fights. And these bosses hit for over 3 mil at the end. You need to save the revives for the ends so that you could like live.
Yeah.
Right, in case you're in a pinch. You don't want to waste them early on just so 23rd World Tournament Goku by himself looks like an average character at this point, right? 9th anniversary characters are doing what 23rd World Tournament Goku is doing, but better. So this Bardock doesn't really match up with that. I don't know why they didn't change like his restrictions to pure Saints, for example.
Yeah.
But that's all I would really say. They just had to change the restrictions. I don't even mind the Wicked Bloodline thing. That could stay. But low class warriors had to go and be pure Saints. And then I think Bardock could have actually been good. It's crazy because I mean obviously adding like 40% damage reduction to his kit is gonna make a huge difference, right? You know, and that's the only thing. But at least Super Saiyan Bardock, he's easy to get out. He's just a simple character. He has the dodge in him. Like, you can get away with using him. It's just, I don't know why you would choose to use him. He's not doing anything special. He's not providing something to the team. He's like a sub option if you don't have other options. While someone like Kefla, I think she's strong enough that you would like, oh, I need to put her on the team. And while I would say Bardock is one of the better EZHURs right now, that's not really a high jumping point, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's like what we have Kefla, Ijo Zamasu sometimes, right? Even Ijo Zamasu could be finicky. In future Gohan, he could work. Even he could be a little finicky. And then everyone else kind of sucks. So I don't know. That's my issue with Bardock. I just feel like he doesn't do anything that will make me like want to choose him outside of these initial showcases, especially because he could just be sniped turn 1 and you just instantly lose. And imagine like a turn 7 Bardock, and then he's like you're in the Gogeta Blue Spring Battle Spectacle. You get him turn 7, and you're in the physical phase that hits for up to 700k normals, and then he supers and he's at 260k defense, and you die because he gets hit twice. And it's like, well, that's all I have to say about Bardock. You can make him work, but I just don't like him. So I mean, I like Bardock, but I don't like the character.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I know I was talking to a buddy of mine about this, and I honestly think like one thing that will definitely make him better will definitely be more teams. Or
DDP.
yeah, it was ZDB. Yeah, the certified.
That guy.
He loves AG on Bardock, bro. Shout out to the boy ZDB, but he was saying that I do kind of agree. Like, obviously, it won't necessarily like fix his kit or anything like that, but you know, once he does get some better characters on his team, that will definitely be helpful because obviously the problem is that a lot of the low class warriors at the moment are kind of old or kind of just not that good. Obviously, right, there's only so many characters I suppose that they can do for it. But I do think if we do get some new characters for that team, we will, you know, maybe be getting a little bit more use out of the boy. But with all of that being said, I guess we have to talk about his main adversary, Chilled, which is kind of funny that is Bardock's sort of main enemy and very fitting. It was kind of funny when they dropped this guy in the news. I was like, why are they putting Chilled with Bardock? And I'm like, duh, hello, that's who he fights. So yeah, this correct me if I'm wrong. I was seeing somebody say, because I like haven't kept track of this. Isn't this the last Super Strike that needed an update?
Yeah, I think out of the ones that are still
There's
commonly available, because obviously there's like the STR Kabito Kai that you just can't get anymore. So I think out of the units that are actually still like, I don't know, in rotation, if you want to call it that, I think he's the last one.
Yeah,
they've
which is
all
pretty
mutated
cool.
on Awakens, so.
Yeah, very fitting. I honestly have no idea what this guy does, Minato.
Yeah.
So I haven't used him yet, but I did look at his details. I haven't
Okay.
covered him, obviously. He seems like he's decent actually. So he gets 30% attack and defense per key sphere he obtains. Then he gets another 30% attack and defense per in key sphere he obtains. On top of that, he has 60% attack defense on super, 50% defense on a super attack effect, and he greatly lowers attack. So like I think like lowering attack is like a very useful thing now actually, because a lot of these fights you could lower attack now, so that's awesome. Like the Gogeta fight, for example. If there's 2 Wicked Bloodline category characters on the team, he actually does have 50% chance to dodge and 50% crit chance. Then he gets like a stun chance, high chance of stun if there's 2 superclass enemies at the start of the turn. So he's not looking too bad actually. He has the dodge chance and a 50% dodge right there. I mean, again, you can get 60% attack and defense per int key sphere. It's a huge number. That's a lot actually. And then he gets multiplicative stats.
He has no start
be...
of turn stats though, does he? Which I think is the
no
potential downside.
The per key sphere is start of turn, right?
Yeah.
So the 60% attack and defense per key sphere is start of turn. Then he gets 60% on super. Then he gets 50% defense on super. So like that's like the bread and butter, I call it, where it's like start of turn when attacking on super attack effect, because that all multiplies against each other, and that's where big numbers start to happen, right? So I think that
the big boy numbers.
Yeah, I think that I haven't used him yet, but I'm probably gonna try him out with the next few days. I just have to link level him, and I'll see what this guy could do. I'm excited actually. I think he could actually be a potential help for Frieza.
That's what he needs to be, really, isn't it?
That's good.
I mean, yeah, you just because like if you're running double Frieza, then you have 2 Wicked Bloodline allies already. So with that, you don't have to worry about running like, I don't know, Astera Cooler or something. Just a double Frieza team, and then like he'll be better than most options probably. I think he might even be able to take normals. Is just I don't know what like into key sphere change you're gonna run.
Yeah.
Wait, let me see.
I suppose. Wait, isn't the what's Frieza's leader skill again? Isn't the extreme in Vegeta?
That's what I was gonna say. Is he on the team?
Because I remember when I made the team for the Frieza showcase, I think I was thinking about putting him on there, but then there wasn't enough other int characters so that he gets the like the guard, which is obviously you kind of really want to have that. But
I assume he's on Space Traveling Warriors, right? That make a lot of sense to me.
I think so.
But he might not be though, because they're weird sometimes with that. I'll take a look real quick.
I think he is on the team, But he's on Planetary Destruction, which is why he's on.
Oh, okay.
Frieza's
Well, yeah,
team.
there you go. He's on Frieza's
So-
That
team.
makes sense.
So I guess
Yeah.
you could run him, Vegeta, and then you need one
Dodoria's
more
in,
character.
and then
Doria.
isn't it 3
Sheila.
other as well though? That's the problem. Like,
Okay, so they could just put Sheila on the team, right?
Yeah, true.
She's one of the better options, and then you can run this. You can run this guy, and then, well, yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
I think.
be interesting.
Get something out of that, but yeah, we just need more options for the Frieza team in general.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely pretty good. I do kind of hope as well this guy definitely gets more of like a more significant card as well in the future, because obviously he is the only chilled in the game, is he not? Besides like
isn't
the
there like
R
a
chilled?
tech, yeah, there's like a tech SR or
There's
something.
like an
isn't there?
SR. Chilled
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
He's the
That boy
only
got no
UR
love.
chilled in the game, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
hope he
crazy.
gets something.
I
It would
mean,
be cool.
yeah, because obviously we all like Bardock, so it'd be a good,
Mhm.
good, place to talk about it a little bit, I suppose. But what are your guys' thoughts on the? Is the official name? Is it like the episode of Bardock that is like
Mhm.
this thing, right? So like Super Saiyan Bardock
Yeah.
versus Chilled. What are your guys' thoughts on it? I was quite
It
curious
sucks.
to know. What?
Oh,
I think that as a story, it sucks. I think it's cool to see Super Saiyan Bardock, but
True.
I just didn't. The story, I just didn't really see the value in it, and didn't really add anything to his character. If
Ooh.
anything, you could argue it took away from his character, and what I feel like the point of Bardock was, and why I liked Bardock.
Ooh,
Um,
Thad alt over
but
here.
huh? What
That was
do you mean?
literally all the exact same things they said on Twitter the other day.
Well, yeah, then I agree with him.
That's
I was talking
That
to him
was
about
really
it, but
that's
about it.
crazy.
But
That's crazy.
yeah, I kind of get it because it's like it is very much. It feels like one of those things that they just made for like potential like future
Merchandising.
merch. But there are some aspects about it that
Yeah.
I do like. What about you, Theo? Before I go off
I
on
mean,
one again.
again,
But-
like seeing
Sure.
Super Saiyan Bardock is cool, right?
Yeah.
You know, like that in a vacuum. But I just, when you consider everything about Bardock's character, I don't really like about in the canon specifically. But well, it's not
Mm.
canon actually. But
well,
you guys go.
Yeah. I think that is one advantage that it does have, I suppose, is that it's not canon, right? So it technically isn't a part of the main story. However, in terms of like the story and the character of Bardock, right? I mean, I don't know. It kind of like, first of all, it just doesn't make any sense in
Yeah,
general,
I
because
know.
like,
I know.
how does Frieza's, giant ball of energy end up sending him through time? Like that part already just is like, dog, what?
What did you do, dude?
Yeah.
It's cool. I
Yeah.
will say, like, I like the spectacle of it. I like that Bardock
Yep.
got Super Saiyan. I think that the fight is cool. And yeah, I don't know. I suppose from a story perspective, I guess I never really thought about it that way. That it's kind of like a little bit weird for his character. But funny enough, I almost kind of feel like, in a weird sort of way, it almost supports his character from the manga, because obviously he's like protecting the village of those people with like the big blueberry heads.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I feel like if it's just this episode of Bardock fits like super Bardock better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind
agree.
of, they do play it off as kind of like he's like the reluctant like protector of those people, right?
Mhm.
He's very much like the anti-hero.
Yeah.
It's more so, I think, the case of like it kind of, I don't know if he has a flashback actually before of like his team, but it kind of follows along that line of like the space pirates turning up and like bullying the village is kind of just reminiscent of like stronger people, bullying the weak, as in like
Right.
Doria and that killing his team. So he's like,
Mhm.
you know what? Actually, I'll step up and fight, kind of thing.
Mhm.
I do agree. Like, it's funny because I really like it just because I like Bardock. I like the Super Saiyan Bardock thing. But yeah, the story aspect of it doesn't make a huge amount of sense. Why he
Yeah.
goes back in time instead of just dying
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
really
what
make
I
a
always
huge amount of
was like, huh?
sense. But like the thing I do really like about it, even though it is dumb and doesn't really make sense, because it does pretty much, it's like a paradox in itself, but I do like the fact that it creates this like almost like circular loop, whereas like by going back in time, Bardock becomes the legendary Super Saiyan essentially, that then Chilled tells his like descendants about as he's like dying in the spaceship.
Mhm.
So then it kind of all comes full circle to like the reason why Frieza blows up the planet in the first place, which then sends Bardock back in time, is because he's afraid of the legendary Super Saiyan that is Bardock, because he sends him back in time by trying to kill him.
Right.
So it's like it creates this really funny time travel paradox that doesn't really make sense, but it's kind of cool. But it's like it ends up being him. But even though it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it's just kind of cool to see, Bardock get Super Saiyan, and but it doesn't make the most sense, but it's kind of fun, so I like it.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
Yep.
It is fun.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Well, with that being said, I think in terms of Dokkan itself, there isn't really too much to talk about. However, obviously, the one thing that we can discuss just a little bit before we move on to obviously the meat and potatoes of today, is of course Saiyan Day, right? We have Saiyan Day coming up. Obviously, that is the next big celebration for Dokkan. I know a lot of people are very, very excited for Saiyan Day. Obviously, with Saiyan Day, we get some kind of Saiyan. Go figure.
What?
I know. Insane, bro. I know that there has been a lot of speculation as to what character it will be. I know that I have seen a bunch of different things, including Bardock, being thrown around.
Yep.
I know a couple people really want Z Broly. I know my pick is definitely Bardock, but Ningen, what are you thinking for Saiyan Day?
Man, I don't know. I've got so many ideas. And obviously, like, I know people who've been out to my streams recently and that know I talked about it. I am doing a video talk with like custom Saiyan Day concepts and stuff like that. So I've been over a bunch of different ideas. I really, really like the idea that's been brought up by quite a few people of a Bardock and Goku, because we know how Legends and Dokkan do like to release similar things within a sort of a certain time span, and obviously that's a unit that came out on Legends a little while ago now. So something like that I think would be super cool. But the one thing I do really want, as much as I am a big Bardock fan, I really want them to do another like good standalone Vegeta card. I feel like it's been ages since we've had a really good Vegeta. So something like Super Saiyan 4 or God Vegeta with the Broly movie like animation transformation.
That would be cool.
Or even like, the first Super Saiyan Vegeta from the Android 19 fight, something like that. Like just a really good standalone Vegeta, I think would be pretty cool. So that's what I would like to see if it's not going to be Bardock and Goku or something Bardock related.
That is a good pick. Minato, what do you think?
I think Vegeta will be shafted.
Well,
Again.
No,
So
it can't be.
my thought process is a Broly, right? Dragon Ball Z Broly. That's just legendary Super Saiyan maybe. And we'll get the Tech Broly EZA. That makes a lot of sense. But I also, again, there's a pretty good chance that the Super EZA for Super Saiyan 3 Goku is on Global and GP, because the Super EZA is scheduled in March. It's not actually out yet, obviously, right?
yeah.
So with that in mind, the only thing coming left in March now is going to be Saiyan Day. Unless they drop them next week on JP only, right before Saiyan Day, but I doubt it. There's hints that Global's gonna get potentially, and the Global could get another version update next week, even though y'all just got one, because of how some things are in the data.
Yeah.
So that's a thing, and there's a very decent chance that Super Saiyan 3 Goku could be on both Global and JP. If that's the case, maybe we could even see some sort of like Buu saga theme, where it's like I could see Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku, like from his fight against Majin Buu. Could be something interesting.
Cool.
I would honestly prefer that for Tanabata though. Like I'm thinking like him.
I mean, we could get LR Kid Buu finally.
Kid Buu. Exactly what I was thinking.
The meme.
LR Kid Buu, right?
Finally.
That could be cool, but it's like, what else from the Buu saga maybe could we get for like Saiyan Day? I don't even know, honestly.
Mm.
So again, either that or like a Broly, I think would be really, really cool.
Just give us the
Um,
Dokkan original Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 3 Majin
Oh
Vegeta
my
Joint
gosh, that
Forces
would be
card.
awesome.
that'd
Oh,
be sick.
That would be
oh.
so cool.
Imagine it's a Super Saiyan 3 Majin Vegeta. That'd be kind of
So
crazy.
that's the
though.
thing. I do have a video coming out after the podcast, so I didn't want to go into too much of the stuff that's going to be in that video, but it is related to, like you said, with the Super Saiyan 3 Goku Super EZA potentially being for Saiyan Day. Something Super Saiyan 3 related would be really cool if it wasn't necessarily Buu Saga. Because remember, like, there's those 3 characters specifically that are not technically heroes characters, even though they're all on crossover. We have in the past, even though it was ages ago and they haven't done something like that really recently, unless you count something like 21. But we got a Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, a Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, and a Super Saiyan 3 Broly as Dokkan Fest exclusives. So they have done that before, which is a really weird choice when they came out. I remember back in the 120 lead meta, Global didn't have heroes yet, which I think most people assumed it was because of some sort of licensing thing. So I remember there was even the discussion of, like, would Global even get Super Saiyan 3 Broly as, like, the Extreme Tech 120 leader? And he obviously did come out because they don't class them as heroes characters. So something like a new Super Saiyan 3, like, because, you know, how they fumbled the last one twice. Like, imagine if the Saiyan Day unit is a Super Saiyan 3 Broly, and then we get, like, the Tech Broly EZA or something like that. Like, that would be really cool, I think. So something Super Saiyan 3 related, give them a new Super Saiyan 3 like leader skill, and then boom, both versions get the AGL Goku Super EZA. There's a whole bunch. I talk about them in the video later, so I don't want to bring it all up now. You guys watch the video later, but there's so many random Super Saiyan 3 characters that I completely forgot about that still need EZAs. So a Super Saiyan 3 like centered celebration, I think, would be super cool.
That's like my dream come true.
Dude, I love Super Saiyan 3. It's one of my favorite
I love
forms.
Super Saiyan 3 as well.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I will say on the topic of the what if and being Bardock, the only other thing that I think besides like a Bardock and Goku is I really want them to do a Super Saiyan Bardock and a Super Saiyan Goku. I think that would also be really cool. Like, not just because, you know, obviously Legends got base Goku and base Bardock.
Yeah.
I think doing a Super Saiyan version of that, oh man, that would be awesome.
It'd be cool. Imagine like a base form version but they both go Super Saiyan in like their active skill animation.
That would be
like,
sick.
that'd
Yeah,
be
that
super
would be
cool.
awesome.
That'd be cool.
I would definitely be down for that. But yeah. So I think in terms of Dokkan, that is pretty much it. Unless you boys can think of anything else. I don't think we got anything else, right?
No, the only thing I was thinking is, like, do we even know? I know they they sort of teased it like really early, didn't they? Because last year we had that sort of teaser for Saiyan Day right when the anniversary ended. That it didn't really say anything in particular, but it was the way it was presented. It was like that bingo thing, right? So pretty much everybody from that was like, okay, well, this is Battle of Gods then, most likely,
Right.
which of course it then ended up being. Do you remember when that was last year? Because we haven't had anything like that, have we? So we've got like no teaser or hint or anything really yet. And you think that like Saiyan Day's in 10 days, and we still have no idea, no idea what it's going to be.
So that was on February 2nd.
Oh wow, okay.
It was
We are long past that now.
Yeah.
That's when the bingo teaser was. Again, I'm presuming like by Monday, Tuesday, we'll see an announcement because the data download for Saiyan Day is likely going to be in literally like a week from now or so, right? Like a week or like 8 days. So I could see like the 13th be like, oh,
Yeah, it's got to be soon, hasn't it? So...
Yeah. So we'll see announcements soon. Maybe they'll start dropping like teasers. Like they could literally drop like a teaser tonight or something, and then like drop it a few days, and they announce the Dokkan Now, and then the Dokkan Now comes out like a few days after. Like they could. I mean, we could literally see one tonight if they really wanted to. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we will see, definitely. Oh, you know, I literally just remembered. I don't know how we didn't think about this. Obviously, there's not like, I suppose, an incredible amount of information to take from this. And of course, when the Super Easy actually drops, we can, discuss that, but obviously we had that Dokkan update video um, from JP, which was mostly just about the Super EZA, right? But there was a couple of extra things in there that were quite interesting. I'm sure you guys read the translations.
Fresh, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of very interesting things in there that they talked about, right? Like obviously we won't go over it into a incredible amount of detail because there was it was a lot of more so like update type of things, right? Rather than like, oh, huge news type of thing, right? But there was some cool stuff in there, right? Obviously we're gonna get another quest mode update, which is cool. You're gonna be able to get like summaries of the chapter when you look at it, which is really, really cool. It does look really cool. You'll be able to copy people's teams from a like trending team section, which is really cool.
Well, it's more like, you could see like, how you could already see the teams people use to clear events. You could like copy that team.
Right.
That's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Yeah. I like that a lot because half the time, like, that's what I'm doing anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Especially for like people who don't go online. I think that's like going to be super
Right.
cool.
Yeah,
definitely.
exactly. That's a very nice way to do it, I feel like. So that will be pretty cool. And then also that way, right? It'll be a little bit more expansive than because I think the one now it's the top like 10 fastest teams, right? So it'll be cool to see that it'll be a little bit more than just like, 10 teams at the top of the, leaderboard in terms of speed. So that is pretty cool. And yeah, very, very interesting, right? I know they also mentioned the one other thing that I just wanted to mention from this list before we moved on here was the very interesting fact that I feel like not a lot of people were talking about when it came to this, which was that they said that the development team was working on ways for older characters to be utilized again other than just Super EZAs.
That was interesting.
Which I think, I was wondering what you guys thought about that because that could mean literally anything. That could be like an entirely new game mode for old characters. That could mean like some other kind of update to the cards, right? That could mean like patching old cards, which I probably assume they wouldn't do, but I would, I'm very intrigued by that. What do you guys think that could be?
So, Chain Battle already did that, right? Which is really cool. We love Chain Battle. That's gone now, but maybe they can make a replacement for Chain Battle that won't be as good. That's good. Dude, I hate that Chain Battle's gone. This new equipment on the Weekly event sucks, by the way. So bad. Talk about it.
Remember, the new Whis event being bad doesn't retroactively make Chain Battle good.
No, but it's Chain Battle is better. That's all I care about.
That might be true, but
now what I would say is I think that it's going to be a thing where they're not going to be strong in a conventional state, obviously, because they're just going to each out. But it's probably going to have to be a new game mode, or it's going to be like in worldwide where like certain characters got like boosts. Characters, which I think people would much less like. People would be like, "Well, I don't have this character that came out 5 years ago, so you suck." Right?
I think it's.
And
I guess it depends how they do it, because if they, if as long as they didn't make it like the specific card, but if they made it like certain types, like for example, with the discussion we had about Bardock, if they made an event where like low class warriors got a massive buff, then it wouldn't matter so much. Like Bardock could obviously still be good in that event, but then some of the older units that you wouldn't run in the current difficult content, you'd now actually want to run them. And it's not a huge category, but most people would be able to make an actual full low class warriors team, even if a lot of them were like the free to play Bardock units or something.
So like it
that,
could
maybe.
be cool. It's like to get like 300% extra attack and defense. And
Yeah.
But like besides that, I think honestly I'd prefer they just make like a brand new game mode. Something like give me original Battlefield. Yeah.
I know I'm a big proprietor. Like I don't know. I know a lot of people like are very like iffy about original Battlefield, but I honestly think that I mean, obviously, there's way more changes that they could make to it, but if they literally just made it faster, that would fix like half of the issue with it because
Yeah.
half the time it was just like, ooh,
And,
watching your character go across the screen. It was so slow, dude.
True.
Oh man, it was like a nightmare trying to play that game mode fast. But
Dude, it was fun though. I liked it.
it was fun. I liked it too.
Yeah.
It was just very unique, right? It was something that was like super interesting,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't like anything else in the game.
It was like a
right?
well, it wasn't quite like that. It was like a tower defense game, sort of. It's just like a
Sorta,
it was
yeah.
what is literally a different game mode. It wasn't
Right.
It wasn't. This is still Dokkan, but the format of the event is slightly different. It was like completely different gameplay, which is very weird but very interesting. I think it definitely had potential because I think was it Global? I swear I did get to play it. Did Global get the test thing of it like once or something? I swear I,
think
did
so.
get to play it at some
I don't
point.
think
but
so. I'm pretty sure Global never got it.
maybe
It
I
was just
just
on JP twice.
maybe I
Maybe you
watched
just played it
videos
on
then.
JP.
I'm like 99% sure Global never got original Battlefield because I remember a lot of Global players were like, I never got to play.
Yeah, maybe not then, because I wouldn't have had a JP account back then. So I mean, I'm sure I watched a video
Probably
of
saw
someone playing
videos
it,
on
but
it.
yeah,
That's what it was.
I couldn't remember if I thought I might have actually gotten to play it at least once. But yeah, something like that would be cool.
Pretty
Or
sure
even-
Global got 2.0.
Yeah, or even like something like unique skill orbs as well would be an interesting thing they could do for older characters, but it's just
Yeah.
weird because like I guess it depends how they choose to do it, because like if we're talking about older characters in the sense of ones that don't have an easy A, then obviously the obvious first answer is they should just then get their easy A. And if it is ones that have an
Yeah.
easy A already, but they don't want to start rushing out super easy A's too much, then they're going to give them some kind of way to be buffed, but then they have to make sure that they've planned ahead enough so that then when that unit does eventually get their super easy A, they don't like conflict with each other somehow. So I do think actually something like a new game mode, I think, would be a cool way of doing it. Even down to things like, you know, Cell Max, where they added the certain categories get massive buffs against him. It's like that same kind of thing, right? Like you said with the worldwide events, like something like that could be
Yeah.
interesting.
I think I would want it to be permanent though. Like I don't think I would want it to just be like a temporary, like, you know, oh like I want them to have things where like they boost characters on a specific event, but I don't want that to be the only thing they do with old characters. You know, I'd rather it be something more long lasting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
One last thing I do want to bring up, actually Prototype brought up in the chat, is they did announce a new quest mode character. So
Yeah, that was on that roadmap.
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
right?
it
Yeah.
could be like Proton brought up, like based on how the story is going around on JP, it could be like it
Frieza
could be
and Cooler.
Frieza, yeah, Frieza
Yeah.
That would be
as a
awesome.
team would be awesome. It could be Majin Buu, but I would really like a Frieza and Cooler. That'd
Yeah,
be
dude, that would be awesome.
I agree. Hey, there you go. We were just talking about Frieza buffs.
Yeah, there you go.
There you
Yeah.
go. Perfect. All right. Well, I believe now that is actually everything that we have to talk about when it comes to Dokkan. So let us discuss obviously the news that we received last night. Of course, the unfortunate passing of Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball. Obviously, this was very shocking for everybody in the community, right, and the world at large. It has been very interesting and in a very weird way, because obviously it is the passing of a life, almost heartwarming to see the outpouring of love and support for Toriyama and for Dragon Ball because of this, right? Obviously a lot of people have been sharing their thoughts and how Dragon Ball has impacted them throughout their life, and how the series has just made an impact on everything. I mean, it's been insane to see, even not just, of course, content creators and just members of the community, but even like, people that you would never think, right, that would be talking about it have been posting about it today. And I've been like retweeting every tweet I've been seeing talking about Toriyama today. Like, the president of France had made like a statement about it, right? Bluey, the kids show, they made a tweet about it. We
Yeah.
were just talking about before, which is like
That's wild.
crazy, right? There's so many things just like, because Dragon Ball is such a worldwide phenomenon, right? That it's really inspiring, honestly, to see that one man could affect the lives of so many people. And I think that it's so interesting to see that like all these different facets, however the word is pronounced, of just like different things in the world were affected by Toriyama's work, right? It's amazing to see how many different various things, like even completely unrelated from Dragon Ball, were affected by it. And I think the coolest thing is just like knowing that something that you enjoy, right, has that effect because of one person. I think is really cool, and has the ability to bring people together like that. So, with that being said, right, we really wanted to kind of just take today's episode to talk about, our thoughts and, our kind of like history with Dragon Ball and, how we found the series and, our love for everything Dragon Ball. Because obviously, to pay homage to the man himself. So, with all of that being said, I think this part is definitely going to be more of like a, free balling kind of impromptu sort of thing. We don't really have like too much planned for this in specifics. But maybe what we could do is, I suppose we could go down the line here, and just kind of like give our thoughts and, anything that we want to say about it.
Yeah. And yeah,
Obviously we can discuss.
I put something in the chat as well. You guys know it's the usual format of the show is we're not really super interactive with the chat. There's occasionally things that get picked out if they're relevant to the topics. But yeah, make sure you let us know your thoughts, any like special memories and stuff you have with Dragon Ball, stuff like that. Let us know in the chat. But yeah, because I kind of cut in there, but I guess I'll let you, I'll pass it back, let Minato start. But I just want to say, like, it is kind of crazy that, I mean, we are all here, like, we know each other because of Dragon Ball, the three of us. So it's obviously something that's had a big influence on all of us. Like, my entire online presence outside of occasionally playing games online with my friends, which isn't really what I would consider my online presence, exists because of Dragon Ball currently.
Right.
So,
Yep.
but yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is insane to think about how much Toriyama has truly impacted the world. Like, actually, like, literally the world. So many cultures, so many people from everywhere are impacted by this. And it's not even just a Dragon Ball thing. Dragon Ball inspired so many different other mangakas, right? Mangakas, I said it wrong, but
So
and it's like, like obviously Masashi Kishimoto wrote Naruto, Oda wrote in One Piece, many other authors of these really popular series. And without this, would these series even exist? Likely not. A lot of these like authors were inspired because of Dragon Ball. Growing up reading Dragon Ball, reading Doctor Slump, reading all these other creations from Akira Toriyama. Dragon Quest is a huge thing in the world as well.
Yep.
He has so many influences, even in Western media, especially in the recent 10, 20 years, especially Western media has been impacted because of Dragon Ball's influence, right? And growing up, I watched Dragon Ball on TV. GT always used to come on as well. Z, when I was like in my teens, I was watching Dragon Ball Z Kai that kept going back and forth from like the Saiyan saga and the Frieza saga and the Cell saga, then went back to Saiyan saga, right?
Yeah.
At least that was my experience watching Kai growing up, right? And it's crazy how like that grew into my love for just anime in general. Dragon Ball introduced me to other animes such as Naruto and everything like that. And then it all came back around to Dragon Ball, playing Dokkan, meeting everyone, you guys online, everyone in this community. Like someone in chat saying, Hunter x Hunter, Yu Hakusho.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot. And to think that man is now no longer with us is very saddening to me. And at the very least, we do know that Dragon Ball Daima is coming out this year, and that is unfortunately the last piece of work that he has had involvement in
Mhm.
that he was very excited about. So um, I think that it is like poetic in a way, that something going back to the roots, I feel like, of Dragon Ball
Yeah.
was at least the last thing he had
Yeah.
involvement in.
Yeah. I saw a
And I
tweet
know
someone
it's
saying
great.
about it because it's like basically like going
Yeah.
back to Kid Goku, isn't it? Kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
hmm
yeah.
And I mean, I've seen comments of Masako Nozara being very upset, and it's also when it came out, it was just so surreal. It's like,
Mm.
wow,
Yeah.
this happened a week ago. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
so glad that they kept it hidden still because of the
Yeah.
fact that his family and his friends needed time to mourn um
Yeah.
before it just came out publicly, like before they even weren't informed or anything like that, right? So I actually like that a lot.
Mm.
Still very sad news, but I think they handled it very well,
I
the
agree.
official media and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a very big loss. That's all I have to say about right now.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that's nice to. It's surprising to hear about. Obviously, the fact that it happened earlier than we knew about it, but it's nice for them like to have that sort of privacy period because, as we've seen today, like everyone is talking about it because it's
Yeah.
influenced so many people like all over the world. And like you said, even in the West, like you could be watching, some random episode of a show, not even something you watch on the regular, but you could just see some random episode of a cartoon or a show, and there'll be like a Dragon Ball reference in it, which
Yep.
is
Yep.
crazy. And like, I said about it on my stream earlier, is like the example people always make those like interaction bait tweets where it's like, this thing is now more iconic than the Kamehameha, even though it's
Yeah.
like, but like
Yeah.
it never will be because there are people who, there are people out there that have never watched an anime, never watched an episode of Dragon Ball, but they have at least some concept of like what the Kamehameha is, or
Yeah.
even the concept of like going Super Saiyan. Like even if they don't know what that is
Yeah.
specifically, just the idea of like, like a rage or like power up boost being referred to as like going Super Saiyan. Like people who don't even watch anime,
Yeah.
like
It's
have
crazy.
not everyone obviously, but like yeah, there are people who don't even watch it that have a concept of what that is.
It's insane that like he made Super Saiyan the way he is, so he could say about ink.
That's
And
dude. That's
time
so
coloring.
funny. It's like I'm so sick and
Bro,
I'm so sick and tired of
great.
coloring Goku's hair in black every single frame. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna make him transform so that his hair turns into a lighter color,
Yep.
so I don't have to color in
Yeah.
all the panels.
Dude, the actual note for that is so funny. Like with that laziness too. I don't know if you saw that
Toriyama's
somebody
such
was
a goofy
posting.
guy, dude.
Dude, he was so funny. There, I don't know if you saw somebody posted a note from like I believe it was an interview or no, it was like at the like I think it was either at the end of a Dragon Ball manga or like it was one of Toriyama's things. But he like made a note that he was like he'd start the storyboard at like midnight and then finish it around 6 a.m.
Yeah.
for like that
Like,
week. So like the whole week he'd just be doing
5
nothing
days he
and
did
bro would
nothing,
grind.
and then the last day he locked in.
Yep, go locked in.
That's a thing. And another thing I did see as well, I was gonna say something, but it actually just disappeared from my mind. Oh, did you know he used the same pen for like 5 decades? I think it was
Really?
was it 41
That's
years or
crazy.
51 years? He used the same pen.
Bro, that ink is
Wow.
strong. What?
Since he was 14 years old, he's used the same pen. And I would assume he just
Dude,
replaced the ink
that's
and stuff
crazy.
like that in there. But that was
that's
his pen.
crazy.
So it's like insane. That is like generational like influence with a pen. I don't know the pen type, unfortunately. I just saw again a tweet about it. That's crazy that he used that for that long,
Yeah.
the entire time. And it's like even just 68 is so young. I feel like even still, it's like
Yeah.
there's so much time. Still.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They even said that there were so many projects that he was upcoming, like looking into and like excited for, and it does make me sad he won't ever be able to see Dragon Ball Daima like premiere. But
Yeah.
I hope that he was able to put a lot of his own influence into there like he wanted.
Yeah, because it's one of those things. He's
Absolutely.
always had that like. There's always been that little bit of influence because like sometimes some of the details are not fully known for some things, and some of them are, and I just don't know them. But like even growing up, it was kind of like when you first find out that like the Dragon Ball movies aren't canon and weren't specifically created by him, but then there's a whole bunch of them where you find out there's like, well, actually he did do the concept art for whoever the villain was or something potentially. Like he always had
I mean, Super
those
Saiyan
little
4
bits
as
of
well, right?
yeah, little bits of influence and stuff. Because yeah, somebody else I think came up with the basic concept, right? But then at some point he actually,
Yeah.
I've seen it on Google years ago, but like he drew a picture of Super Saiyan 4 Goku like himself
Yeah.
officially, even after like it was originally designed for GT. And you know, it's one of those things like, you know, all of that stuff that has branched out, even the stuff that he wasn't directly involved in, it just all comes from that same source. Like, you know, we
Right.
say we can't get the mention on every podcast, but I mean, it fits in with what we're saying. Like, even like Heroes, right? As much as we love Heroes
Yeah.
and all the crazy shenanigans that go on over there, like, even though he wasn't really directly involved with it at all, like, it wouldn't exist without, you know, the base thing that
it's
it grew
also
from. So,
Yep.
so
I
all
think
this
it's
crazy
also
stuff.
really nice that Superhero is one of the last projects he's worked on, because
Yeah.
if you guys didn't know, Piccolo was actually his favorite character.
Yeah.
So having a movie with such a big focus on Piccolo, I
Mm.
think was really nice in terms of, you know, looking back at things, and
Yeah.
it's good for Piccolo, you know, and I think it was something that he was very, very happy with making. You could tell watching Superhero, I had that Toriyama type of humor,
Mm.
right? Those Toriyama
Yeah.
type of gags. It was cool. I think I liked Superhero a lot because I really felt like
It's just
an
fun.
homage to the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like you can criticize, and some people do who don't like it, or don't like it as much. But like you can kind of criticize the sort of like the beats at the end and like Beast and stuff as just being very similar to like, you know, the original Super Saiyan 2 and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
like it very much is just like a Dragon Ball experience. Like it's got some of the silliness, but some of the fights are really cool, and then it has that like sort of epic, even if it is just a retread kind of thing, it has that epic like main character powers up to new form
Yeah.
in time of need kind of thing. It is just a very fun like Dragon Ball movie. So say what you will
Absolutely.
about like the originality, and some people don't particularly like the art style and stuff like that. Like it's not my number one choice for a Dragon Ball movie, but even so, I still really enjoyed it. Like the style that they went with. You know, it wasn't what I would have picked,
Yeah.
but it still turned out looking quite cool. Because normally for me, CG and anime, there's been some really dodgy ones obviously in the past, but I think
Yeah.
Superhero does look really good.
Let's not talk about anime CG crowds. That is
Yeah, that's gonna
nightmare
get to a
fuel
whole
right
other
there.
thing. Dude,
But
it's
yeah,
So-
Superhero was
But yeah,
lots of fun.
superhero, like, it's so cool too that, like, for me, I suppose that being one of the last things he worked on, because that's like one of my like favorite Dragon Ball things ever. Like honestly, like I love Dragon Ball, and like you know, you could put Goku's face on anything and I'd probably buy it. I mean, look behind me
Yeah.
right now. But like, you know, when it comes to superhero, right? I don't know. It's just that like I loved the Gogeta movie, or the Gogeta movie. I always call it the Gogeta movie, even though it's the Broly movie. But
I thought
you know,
you meant
I love
Fusion
Dragon.
Reborn.
Right, yeah, I am thinking of Fusion Reborn. Yeah, that's a goated movie too. But you know, when it comes to like superhero, there is just something about it for me personally that feels so authentically Dragon Ball that really makes me just love it with all my heart. And I can't help but love it because it's just, you know, it has everything like you guys are mentioning. You know, it's got Toriyama humor, right? It's got, you know, cool power-ups, it's got cool fights, right? It's got, you know, these fantastically written characters, right? It's just a very good time. You know, I love it, right? Like I bought the 4K DVD twice for Pete's sake. You know, like I love the movie so much. So, you know, for me, that being one of the final things that he worked on is really, really cool. And I think also, you know, like we were saying about Daima, right? It's awesome that Dragon Ball Daima is one of the, like final things that he got to, like work on, because of the fact that, it's sort of poetic in a way of going back to that full circle type of thing, right? Where, it's kind of back to Dragon Ball's roots, right? In the way of, Goku is a kid again. And, obviously, like, the animation looks absolutely fantastic. And not to mention, right, I know one thing that people have talked about and has been a criticism of modern Dragon Ball that really seems like is going to be remedied a whole lot in Dragon Ball Daima is hand-to-hand combat. There's a lot of talk that I've seen where Dragon Ball is just, ki blasts firing at each other and beams and stuff like that. And unfortunately, our beloved Dragon Ball Heroes is definitely a victim or a proprietor of that. I'm not sure which word would be more appropriate, but they love doing the just funny throwing a bunch of key balls and then they go, "Oh my gosh, it didn't work," right? But
some of the early series stuff as well. Like some of the scenes where like they really throw hands, like some of that stuff was so good. Yeah,
right. The fights were awesome. Like the hand-to-hand combat, the choreography.
Like there's a couple. There's a couple that get brought up a lot, but I know it's like almost like the classic, like, oh yeah, of course those ones. But like the ones that get brought up all the time that were peak, like watching Z when I was younger and everything, is the Goku versus Cell. Before he like quits in the Cell games. That is sick with the Warp Kamehameha at the end and everything. And then Super Saiyan 2 Goku versus Majin Vegeta. Like those two fights are so good. And there's also 17 versus Piccolo. That's another good like one. Yep. Like the later Z still had some of those good like examples where people really do, like I say, throw hands. But like, yeah, some of that stuff was really cool. So to see them going back to more stuff like that again, I think will be very good. I think it'll be interesting to see how Daima is received, especially now, because I think a lot more people will be sort of willing to give it a chance who maybe were not as excited. Because, I mean, that's the thing. Like, one of the big things about GT that I didn't like was the fact that they just turned Goku back into a kid again.
Right.
But like Daima, especially like we said, the animation looks really good. It's something that I think everybody should be, really, if you are a fan of Dragon Ball in general. But like, I'm definitely willing. I'm in that camp where I want to see it. I'm not going to make any judgments. Like, I give it its fair shot. I want to see it, see how good it is. But I do definitely feel like as well, it's one of those things. Dragon Ball really is expanding and branching out. Like, it's been around for so long. Daima definitely could be one of those series that can be seen as like, it's not even. I imagine there will be something there for everyone. Like, it will appeal to all Dragon Ball fans. But it's kind of one of those. It feels very much to me like it's not necessarily, if this is the right way to word it, it's not like it's for us. It's like it's for the new generation of like Dragon Ball fans and stuff. And I feel like with the way it looks, with the potential of the story, because we still don't know all the details and stuff, of course. But with them becoming younger again and things like that, like it's just gonna bring in a whole new audience, like for Dragon Ball. And then, those people will grow up. And as we've done with the older series that weren't out, like, when I first started watching Z on Cartoon Network in the UK, I had no idea that OG Dragon Ball existed.
Yeah,
something I had to go back and watch later. So there'll be like a whole new generation of Dragon Ball fans that will watch Daima and then like maybe watch like Superhero, and they'll go back and watch Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that all progresses and how that is received, like once it does come out. So it's later this year, isn't it? So
I think so. Yeah.
Looking forward to see. Yeah, how that goes.
That will be awesome. It almost kind of feels like you were saying, where it's like it's not for us but the new generation. It almost kind of feels like in the same vein, like it's like Toriyama's series more than anything almost. It kind of feels like he was like, yeah, I'm making something for myself, dang it.
Well, it's like someone reminded me earlier, and it's really funny. I know there are a lot of like rumors and stories about Toriyama and about Dragon Ball that, I mean, some of them I don't know 100% whether they were true or whether they were ever confirmed or anything, but one of the ones that really makes me laugh, and funnily enough, it was mentioned on the stream earlier and then got brought up by somebody I know when I was out before the stream, was the whole thing about Dragon Ball Evolution came out. and was so awful and was so badly received that that's one of the things that like inspired Toriyama to make new Dragon Ball stories again, because it was like oh, okay, it's like okay guys, like hold my beer, all right, you want more Dragon Ball stories? I don't know what this thing is that you've made, but like let me I got you. And then obviously not long after that, a few years or whatever it was, Battle of Gods came out. Dude, I remember seeing like the announcement for Battle of Gods, and then seeing it was one of the very rare times, because especially over here in the UK nowadays it's a lot more common. All the most recent Dragon Ball movies have been at the cinema. I think the most recent, I think one of my friends recently went to see the Demon Slayer one that just came out, that's like the start of the Hashira arc and stuff like that. But like years ago, like when I was a teen, even when I was just like an early teenager, like anime was not on at the cinema over here, like at all. So getting to actually go to a movie theater and see a Dragon Ball movie, like actually going to see Battle of Gods with some of my friends, like dude, that was so good. And as everybody knows, with their finally awaited the receival of physical God Goku. There you go, Annie. We had the, that just watching that movie and the whole like I will not let you destroy my world, and like the music kicks in and all that, like seeing that at the cinema, dude, like getting to see Dragon Ball at the cinema. And then obviously Resurrection of F, which gets a hard time, but like I really liked it when it came out. Like
I did
the
too.
Frieza song was awesome. The bit at the beginning with the Z fighters fighting everybody, like I really liked it. It's got its weak moments, but I liked it. And then the announcement that Super was going to come back, the weird Super was going to come out, like Dragon Ball was going to come back, the weird roller coaster that was like the first episode where kind of nothing really happened, and then the second episode where it became clear they were just going to retell Battle of Gods, and then we had the meme that will always be, was it episode 5 with
episode 5,
the worst animation you've ever seen, like man.
It was not great, but we got past it, thankfully. We got bigger and better things as time went on, which was good. Like I, funny enough, had a similar experience with Battle of Gods. I still have my Battle of Gods ticket in my desk, in the drawer in my desk. It was so cool because it was something that almost like brought back my love for the series. Like it's like I never stopped liking Dragon Ball, obviously, but it was kind of like the thing of like, oh my gosh, something new for Dragon Ball, I have to go see it. And I remember even like me and all my friends, like, we all went to the theater together to go see the movie, and it was just, it was a fantastic experience, truly something unforgettable, right? And I think it was sort of like Battle of Gods that I attribute a lot to like my, loving Dragon Ball again sort of thing. Because I was one of the people who found out about it because of shout out to 4Kids TV. You already know. 4Kids had Kai, and the same thing with Minato, right? Where they never did. I mean, it wasn't recent now, but they didn't have the Buu saga back then. So I remember, like, I would, Saiyan saga, Frieza saga, Cell saga, be like, yes, finally, new Dragon Ball, and then they loop back to the beginning.
Dude,
I was like, what?
Oh man, that's that used to happen on the
because
UK TV as well.
They aired GT, so it's like for some time I didn't even see the Buu saga. It's like I saw the Cell saga, and then it was like GT as well. And I'm like, I'm always like, what is happening in the Buu saga? Like, I'm like, I've heard about the Buu saga because I used to go online, like when I was like 13, 14 or whatever, and I used to like see like, okay, some people are talking about like Vegito and Super Saiyan 3, and it was all like an enigma to me. And when I finally watched the Buu saga, it ended up being one of my favorite parts. I mean, the Buu saga ending with the Spirit Bomb, man, it's just
so good.
It's just so good. It's like top 3 moments in the series. Like thinking about Dragon Ball, I think about that moment a lot. Goku going Super Saiyan 4, like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. It's just like actually generational. Like it, like in like 50 years, when we talk, like I'm gonna visit like grandkids or something, and then it's gonna be like they're watching Dragon Ball, I don't know,
Ultra or something.
Ultra Ball, or Dragon Ball Ultra, and then it's like, wow, just like it's good because I mean Dragon Ball won't end here, right? But
it is
crazy, And Dragon Ball has influenced so many other things. I mean, I talked about this earlier before we started this stream, but did you know that like apparently Mario, like
Oh yeah.
actually like Mario, his design has like a very high resemblance to Arale, right? Where it's like the blue overalls, the red shirts, the way that they walk with their hands out,
Even the hat.
the hat, the
Yeah.
Tanuki outfits, like so many of those things are actually inspired by Arale. And based on what I saw in one of the comments of that
That's
post I
crazy.
saw,
Yeah.
Miyamoto wanted to be a manga creator, apparently. So I guess what happened there is that he was also inspired by Toriyama and by Dr. Slump, which makes a lot of sense because if you really look at the design side to side, you could see like the similarities. I retweeted that actually a few of those posts earlier on my Twitter, but you could see like those similarities, and it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
About that. And I'll go ahead and let me
I'll see if
actually
I can get it up here. Let me get the.
Yeah.
yeah, I'll put the
By the way,
there.
while you're doing that, was something funny that I don't know. I think you may know this fun fact about Dragon Ball Evolution because you were talking about it earlier. The guy who played Piccolo
Piccolo
in
voices
the
Zamasu.
movie, he voices Zamasu in Dragon Ball Super.
He didn't even want to be paid.
Yeah, he like felt so bad about the performance because he was like, dog, this is just the worst. That he was like, all right, I am going to voice this character and I am going to cook. And like, listen, I'm a huge fan of like, the Japanese version of Dragon Ball. Obviously, I grew up watching the dub, but these days I would probably go and, watch the sub if I'm going to watch it again. But dude, his voice for Zamasu in the anime, and even this is just like a weird way to like rope it in, but in Breakers, right? Obviously, Breakers recently got Goku Black and Zamasu as a raider, and in the game you can like buy a bunch of voice lines that you can use in the game. And dude, some of the voice acting that my man brings to the table literally gives me chills. Like, dude. He cooked so hard, so that was pretty cool to the man had the redemption arc. That was awesome.
I think that what I would say is another thing is I think he reached out to I swear I remember someone saying he reached out to like Christopher Sabat and was like, I gotta redeem myself, bro. You gotta pay me. Right. And I'm like, that's fair. So I mean, yeah, just
Very,
and
very
then obviously
cool.
that's again like we talked about, that's what brought Toriyama back to making Dragon Ball. So in a sense,
Thank you, Dragon Ball Evolution.
thank you, Dragon Ball Evolution, for being so bad. But yeah, there's the
That's cool.
on
Yeah.
the screen right there. See the similarities between Arale and
Yeah, and then
Mario.
there's also the
R64 with
someone
the
posted
wings.
it down
Yeah.
here somewhere. I think there's also the picture of. I will find it here in a second. There's the picture of. There's like a gif of Arale in the Tanuki suit as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I could.
So, yeah.
That's because like in the actual main replies, I believe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, it's right there. So it's like that is like Mario inspired by Arale
Yeah.
is crazy because again it's somewhere in the replies as well. But someone stated that Miyamoto wanted to be a mangaka. I guess I could like.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mangaka.
Yeah. It makes sense all things considered because obviously, it's like just a huge part of Japanese culture.
Yeah, I literally found it. It's on his Wikipedia page. He originally saw a career as a manga artist until developing an interest in video games.
That's
But it's
crazy.
like you could obviously see. I mean, at that time, like in like the 1970s or so, which is like he joined Nintendo in 1977, right? So I would assume like 1960s, 1970s, Dragon Ball was already like a thing, or Dr. Slump, I think specifically was already a thing, right? So it's like that inspiring. That is pretty crazy as well.
Yeah. I just wanted to give a quick shout out rather than like waiting and doing everything at the end because obviously we're just kind of freestyling this last part. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Philip Rodriguez who sent in a super chat. He says, watching VHS tapes, so my grandma would record for me so I could watch when I came over. The Toonami, oh, sorry, shout out to Toon, the Toonami techno drum and bass commercials
influence runs deep.
of the early 2000s, Wall Scrolls, Silk Button-Ups, cherished memories. Yeah, so many memories from Dragon Ball. Let us know yours in the chat as well. Yeah. I talked about it on my stream earlier today. I got a message from one of my friends who I used to work with at my previous job. He's come onto some of my streams to do like Dark Souls co-op and stuff before. And he's someone who very much like grew up liking Dragon Ball. So when we became friends at work, we would talk about Dragon Ball. We both watched like, you know, Abridged when it was coming out and stuff like that. And we talk about it at work. I got him into playing Dokkan. And yeah, he messaged me about it today, and I said to him, I was like, yeah, man, like I told the story on my stream this morning of we'd worked a night shift, and it was the day that the final episode of Dragon Ball Super came out. And obviously you have to wait like a little bit for one of the sites to put it up with the subtitles. So we'd worked a night shift at this place that we worked in, this night sort of like office job. Left there in the morning, gone through the McDonald's drive-through to get some breakfast, went back to my house and watched the last episode of Dragon Ball Super together.
Nice.
And dude, like, it's just one of those experiences. Like, I know there's the big thing of I retweeted it earlier. I think Annie posted the thing that it was played live in like a massive arena in Mexico or something, and the crowd are just going absolutely insane. But like even just as like a small localized version of that, like I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of Jiren. I'm not a huge fan of the Tournament of Power in general, really. But like watching that last episode of Super with like one of my friends who I know like loves Dragon Ball as much as I do, like we were just on the edge of the sofa, just like, yes, go Goku and Frieza. Like, oh, dude, it was so good. Like, yeah, man, stuff like that is I'll always remember things like that. It was super cool.
It's awesome.
First Super Saiyan transformation when we eventually got there, because that's the thing I was gonna say, like with the UK TV, the fact that they would get to like a certain point in one of the arcs and then you'd go to watch it like the next day after school and it'd be the first episode again with like Raditz coming to Earth, and I was just like, no, now I'm gonna have to wait like a minimum of like 2 or 3 months or something for it to get back to where it was, and hopefully now they've got more episodes again.
Yeah,
like
that. It's so good, dude. Like I even remember like there was one time where like I have a memory that's like not is exactly similar to that, but I used to work with this one guy, super nice guy. And he didn't know that Dragon Ball Super existed. Like he also grew up as a kid watching Dragon Ball Z. And like I sat there because there was a day where there was just like nothing going on at work, like zero people coming in, and so we were just sitting around basically doing nothing. And I was like, yeah, and then he fights this guy who took Goku's body, and then Goku and Vegeta fuse in Vegito, and they become Vegito Blue, and like just the absolute like. I don't know. It's just like any person you could talk to. Like there was even one time I was with a buddy of mine and we were at a party and we went to like Little Caesars or something to pick up pizzas. And we were talking about Dragon Ball because Superhero had like just come out. And the guy standing in the Domino's next to us started talking to us about Dragon Ball.
Dude, it's just like
about it.
The influence is insane.
Right. It's crazy, dude. It's absolutely insane. I mean, even going back like way back, if we're talking even when you're a kid, right? Like, even like on the playground, right? Like pretending to be Goku and Vegeta, right? Or like going Super Saiyan or something like that. The influence runs that deep.
Did I said it to you before the podcast started? I think it was when we were waiting for Minato to join the call, but I retweeted it earlier. I'd never seen before the Japanese TV commercial for Kakarot. And it's if you guys haven't seen it, like, see if you can find it. I retweeted it earlier. But it's basically like, it's like a Japanese businessman walking home from work and a bunch of kids like run past him and they're obviously speaking Japanese, but they're saying something about Super Saiyajin. And he like kind of has a little smile. And when he gets home, it's because he's come home from work. He's got his new copy of Kakarot. And as he sits down and loads it up and watches the intro, he has a bunch of flashbacks of like him as a kid playing around like with his friends, talking about Dragon Ball. Like as a kid, sat in the bath, putting like shampoo on his hair, so he's got like Goku hair, and doing like Kamehameha in the bath. And then it cuts back to like the next day, where he's like the kids like run past him again on his way home from work, and he's got this like big smile. Dude, I'd never seen that before, and like it hit me in the feels when I watched it earlier. I'm not gonna lie, like
it just reminded me where
crazy.
I was like growing up when my house had a pool in it, and I used to like be in the pool and I used to get the water and just like do this with the water, then shoot it out like a Kamehameha, like and that was so like that was like I don't know, I was like what 9, 10, like even younger, just like Dragon Ball is such a huge influence in like my life and so many people's lives. It's insane.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said before, right? It's like, you know, it's the reason we're all here. It's crazy that it's like, you know, it might just be just a phone game based on the IP, but at the end of the day, like, you know, like I said, it's the reason we know each other. It's the reason why everybody is here in the chat right now, all connected through this one man's like works. It's very, very cool.
What's so I like when you said bringing it back to Dokkan, I was reminded of another funny story where I remember sorry mom if you're watching this, but me and my buddy, shout out to the boy Gene, we were playing Dokkan one time in the back of history class. First of all, listen, this is a huge other rant. I don't know who at our school decided that it was a good idea to give a bunch of high schoolers iPads as our main way to learn, because obviously you're going to use that for not school, but neither here nor there. So we were playing Dokkan, and it was around the time that Omega had come out, and me and my buddy were in the back of the class. He was the seat in front of me, and I was the seat behind him, and we were literally like in the back corner. And I remember he like poked me, and he's like, "Hey, Theo," and I was like, "What's up?" And he turns his iPad around, and he just did a multi and pulled Omega Shinron, and I remember like I had to hold back from just like screaming because we were obviously in the middle of class. Oh man, so funny, dude. It was great. After class, I was like in the hallway going crazy, dude. It was great. It was a great time,
dude. That's awesome.
But,
also, shout out to Drace with he dropped a super chat as well. He says, "I appreciate manga and anime even more now. We lost 2 other heavy hitters the past few years, so the art form of manga and anime is even more beautiful." Yeah, I think one of those is probably referring to is Miura, right? The guy that created Berserk. Another thing that is pretty crazy and inspired a whole bunch of things, including one of my favorite game series is Dark Souls. It's crazy how much that stuff does go like across borders and how it influences all these other things. Like, I mean, like Guts' sword is basically in every single Dark Souls game because the main guy that created Dark Souls just loves Berserk. So, and as we said,
I'm sure. No, go ahead, finish.
I was just gonna say, like we said, like there are just Dragon Ball references in so many things. Like,
oh yeah, everywhere. Crazy. Yeah, I mean, ironically enough, I'll use this as a little segue. The other one that I'm sure that they're talking about is Takahashi, the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yes, I think so. Yeah,
because he obviously passed away from. I know he was actually trying to save some people. It's a very interesting story if you look it up. He was trying to save people with a diving accident, which was very interesting. But even in Yu-Gi-Oh, you know what's so funny, like talking about like references in Yu-Gi-Oh Zexal, towards the end with Yuma like literally goes Super Saiyan. Like it's not even. Let me see if I can find it. Yuma Super Saiyan. Like it's not even like. It's not even like, you know. It's like, oh, it's just like a little reference or something like that. That is literally what he looks like. Yeah. Here. This is. I'll give you this old. This is a super old meme, but this has the screenshot for some context. There you go. Like he literally just goes Super Saiyan. So like, you know, the influence for every mangaka ever, I think, is just, you know, I'm feeling the flow exactly. You know, the influence is just, you know, crazy to see it absolutely everywhere. So I think it will be very interesting to see what happens going forward as well. With the passing of Toriyama when it comes to like pretty much everything, like every aspect of, manga and Dragon Ball itself.
Yeah,
I
because
think
like
no, go ahead.
we know they've set up, they've got this thing. Is it Dragon House or Dragon Room? I forget, where it's like
the Capsule Corporate. I think
yeah,
that's
it's like
what they
the thing
just
they're
called it.
set
The
up
Capsule
with
Corporate.
the
It's
for
a
all
new
these
company, right?
future
Capsule Tower,
projects
maybe?
and things.
It's
something like
I think
that.
there's a Capsule
What's it called?
Corporation
Capsule
thing.
Corporation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like actually IRL now.
Yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
sure originally there was like the working title was like the Dragon House or something like that when we first heard about it. But yeah, this like group, this group of people discussing and planning for future Dragon Ball content, whether it's games and offshoots and movies and stuff like that. So we know that at least in some way, shape, or form, like Dragon Ball will continue. It's been kind of over the years being his sort of like his student, his protege. Like Toriyama has obviously slowly but surely passed the reins over to Toyotaro for the anime, for the manga. So like it'll be really interesting to see, because I know this was a discussion that was had. Apparently they'd had the conversation between Miura and his protege who's going to take over, basically finishing the Berserk manga, where they'd actually had a conversation about what Miura wanted the ending of Berserk to be, so that if he was ever like not able to finish it, that this other guy could finish it off for him with the ending that he wanted. And that's one of those things. Dragon Ball's kind of always been one of those things that can just kind of come back, because it's never really had a super definitive ending. But that is something that I obviously now kind of wonder is like, has there been some sort of plan or some sort of discussion with Toyotaro about how like super specifically like is going to end? Will it end with what could potentially be like what's going to be building into the next arc, where they finally take out Frieza after constantly not taking out Frieza, just letting him go. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see where that leads to. But as we said before, there's always been multiple side projects that have had sometimes even little to no actual influence from Toriyama. So, that stuff will all continue. But I think the most interesting thing will be after Daima and after the next arc in the super manga finishes. I guess like that's when we'll get like the first real sort of like new era of Dragon Ball content that is kind of completely, I don't want to say original, but like completely unrelated, I guess. And it's not even unrelated, because of course it isn't, right? It's like his world and everything, but has no influence whatsoever. Like, because even things he wasn't directly involved in, like we said before, he's done concept art, he's given like his thoughts and things like that. So it will be very interesting to see what the first project that has no involvement from Toriyama like actually turns out to be. But yeah,
it will be very interesting.
Because I mean,
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, with like superhero, it's now what, like almost 2 years old, or is it 2 years old? With how successful that was and how popular it was, you could imagine that probably within the next couple of years we would have seen another Dragon Ball movie potentially. Is that something that will still happen? I mean, obviously with Daima being a project, maybe it would be a bit after that's finished. Who knows? Or they could always be different teams. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what sort of comes down the pipeline next. But
yeah, I mean, I do think in terms of Dragon Ball, like, and its longevity, I think this is kind of like an unfortunate thing to say in this particular like circumstance, but I mean, it is just the fact of it, right? I think Dragon Ball makes too much money for it to stop, like if it's speaking from like a realistic standpoint, right? I think the franchise as a whole, right? We're talking about, anime, games, movies, manga, right? Merchandise, everything related around it. I think that, it just makes too much to ever really stop. I think in the same vein, it's kind of like Pokemon, where, like Pokemon is, I think it's technically the biggest franchise in the world or the highest grossing or whatever, but it's like, I don't think Pokemon will like ever go away because it just makes so much, like I'm sure when I'm, in the nursing home with the boys, we'll be playing Pokemon Super Omega, Naranja or whatever, like as in the same vein that, we were talking about earlier, that like, we will, probably have Dragon Ball until all of us are very much so long gone.
I think in a way it's pretty cool. Like, obviously on the one hand, you could look at it from the perspective from like that business standpoint, right? Where it's like, as long as Dragon Ball continues to make money, which it will, because it's very popular, it will continue to grow, like continue to go on. But I just thought of it like when we were sort of saying about it there, but like it must be pretty awesome, like I mean, obviously, no one can ask now. I wonder if he ever said anything about that kind of thing, but I suppose it's the kind of thing that you never really know until years after you're gone anyway. But to imagine like having created something that is not only so big and had so much influence on things all around the world, but the fact that it probably will in some way, shape or form, even if it's just new games, remasters of old games, remasters of the old series. Like, I know loads of people talked about, imagine how awesome it would be to see like the OG Dragon Ball with the animation that they had in that like flashback at the beginning of Superhero. Like, that stuff will still be going on long after, like, you know what I mean? Like, he created it, he set it up, he put it out there into the world, and now it's just like this huge thing that will just go on and on and on, and like, that is pretty awesome. So
yeah, I think that is really cool. It's like, on one hand, it's like, I suppose you could say something to like the story that like, maybe it should have a proper end, or, there's like sometimes there's when something has gone on for too long. But I think with what Dragon Ball is, and just, the way that they've handled it, they've done a good job of continuing it despite it having a technical ending. But I 100% agree that I think like in that regard, it's just kind of awesome that like Dragon Ball will just go on basically until the Earth stops being able to be habitable for humans. Like
even just right now,
that's so
it's
cool.
like Toriyama picked Toyotaro as a successor, right?
Yep.
So I feel like we're going to be in good hands regardless with Toyotaro.
Yeah, exactly. People like to give him some sticks sometimes, but
right.
there's been some pretty cool stuff in the manga.
Yeah.
And like I said, it'll be interesting to see just how much they've discussed about like where the story is going to go. And then when we've, like I said, almost like I said, with like a new movie or a new series or something, when we finally get to the point where whether he would actually say anything officially or, publicly, whatever, when we get to that point where it's like, okay, this is everything that he told me to do, and now this is just me doing it now for like the story of the manga. Like, it'd be very interesting to see how that all goes. But like you said, like Toriyama picked him. As we know from like the stories and everything, he's given him little bits of feedback here and there, bits of like concept art and stuff. But Toyotaro has been mainly doing the manga for quite a while now. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
especially with the build up, like we said, especially with the build up to this, like the next potential big like Frieza arc. It would be kind of fitting. I mean, like, again, it's almost one of those things where on the one hand you don't want it to end, but it's like that would almost be fitting for it to be for Frieza to be like the final big
boss,
bad guy again. Yeah, be very cool.
Yeah.
When you were like, see where the story goes, I couldn't help but think of the GT route. Here's how the story goes. We find out. They're like, I don't know, man. It's just like, and then I don't know. It's so funny with all the different things that like, when it comes to Dragon Ball, like, even just like the extent of like music, right? Like talking about that, like obviously, GT, but even like, talking about, even in that regard, like, I'm a big music person. And I don't really like talk about it that much because it's like, I don't know, it's just like something that finding someone who has your exact taste in music or like similar music to you do is like kind of a hard thing, because music is such like a subjective thing, for like people like enjoying it, I suppose, right? Because somebody could absolutely love something and somebody could come along and be like, this is the stinkiest thing my ears have ever laid, sound on or whatever. But, like, when it comes down to it, even so, like, Dragon Ball has introduced me to so many different, like, things related to music, whether it be, like, people on YouTube making like Dragon Ball covers, or you know, like the wonderful Dragon Ball Heroes openings that I listen to all the time, or of course, you know, like all of the wonderful music from Dragon Ball itself. You know, when it comes to like the openings and the endings from every single, you know, like Dragon Ball franchise, there's always one that I love. But even so, like, even just talking about, you know, like music in general, like some of those, the ending themes, right? Like, because of that, I found some really cool Japanese bands just from like, you know, looking at, okay, who wrote this song, right? And then finding out the full song and then listening to it and then listening to their other music. And even that, right, is something that like you don't really think about, how one person can, you know, affect all of those different little connections that, you know, end up like kind of going down different rabbit trails, right? That the roots are planted that then extend the branches of the tree to a bunch of different facets of your life. So
well, and it's cool because we mentioned it earlier, right? When we were talking about, when we mentioned Resurrection of F, but it's like the Frieza song that's in Resurrection of F.
Freeze,
It's like
it's awesome.
Maximum the Hormone, right? And it's
Dude, what a
so
band
cool,
name, by the way.
Yeah. What's so cool about that is that the story, if I remember rightly, and if it's accurate from what I read, is that they obviously wrote that song about Frieza because they love Dragon Ball, and then Toriyama found that song randomly somehow, really liked it, and then that helped inspire him writing Resurrection of F. So then obviously reached out to them and was like,
Really?
hey, do you want the song to be in the movie? So they created the movie about Frieza, and then Toriyama heard it and was like, I might write a new story about Frieza, and then made it into a movie, and then that song is in the movie. Like, that sort of stuff is just so crazy and so cool. Like, imagine being that band as well. It's like you write a song about Frieza because you love Dragon Ball, and then literally Akira Toriyama is like, hey, I really like this song. It made me write a new story about Frieza that's going to be a movie. Would you like your song to be in the soundtrack for the movie? It's like, yes, please. Like, yeah, it's so cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I love that. That Frieza song's great.
It is awesome. It's so like, that song is just so funny because it's like, you know, I'm not listening to like heavy metal like that really on the daily, but like, man, it's just such a bombastic song, and it fits Frieza so well. The
sad part is, I think, I can't remember if they play it again in the credits, but like the sad part is obviously the fact it's only actually in the movie very briefly, like when he comes out of the regeneration pod thing. Yeah. But the also, if you ever get a chance to watch one of the videos that has like the English translation of the lyrics, like the lyrics are hilarious as well.
They're crazy.
It's like literally like part of the lead up to the chorus is basically saying like why are you so bad? Why are you so evil? Like that kind of thing. It's really funny. And then obviously the chorus is them just saying Frieza over. Like, it's so good.
Yep. It's so good, man. I'm so happy that song made it into Dokkan in some capacity, right? Like that was probably like, at this point, I was like, all right, if we get the Frieza song in Dokkan, we peaked, and we did.
Dude, was it from the was it part of the anniversary? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was part of the anniversary because they basically did like most of like the major like insert songs for the movie, right? Like Flo got in.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
obviously,
dude, that
Frieza,
song as well is
or
so
Hero
good.
rather.
Yeah,
that song is amazing too, dude. After Battle of Gods came out, like I walked to school every day blasting that song in my headphones, dude. Like every single day, that song was just on full volume. I thought I just scratched something on my back. Sorry. Yeah, no. It's just so cool.
Yeah, like, I like how they even made like the OST for the physical God Goku's transformation. Like, it even kind of sounds like the song a little bit. Like, it's so good.
It's a little bit of a reference, yeah.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Which I think is really neat. Definitely very awesome. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else to say, chat? Any definitely again, tell us any like stories or anything like that. Feel free, right? I know a lot of people have been discussing this as we've been going through.
Yeah, so as a Toritaro has been taking the reins of the manga for a while now. He's a fully fledged Toriyama student. Yeah, hopefully it's... I mean, that's the thing. Toriyama would have picked him for a reason, right? So all we can do is wait and see, and hopefully it will be in good hands. I mean, that's the thing. I know people are hit or miss about the manga and some of the recent arcs, but I think I've enjoyed it for the most part. I don't read like every single chapter like as soon as it comes out. I normally end up catching up at some point on a bunch of the stuff that I've missed, but I think it's been very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I even like in terms of the manga, I have not caught up on it completely myself, which is crazy considering how much I love superhero. But you know, man, like I think I even just prefer the Goku Black arc in the manga, like flat out more. Like it's just really good. I mean, I think both are good, but like I read the manga version of the Goku Black arc and I was like, dude, I'm impressed. This slaps. So it's definitely very, very good, right? Highly recommend checking it out if you've never actually read it before. It's super great. But yeah, that I did want to say, by the way, I did want to mention somebody mentioned in the chat, obviously, Oda and Kishimoto, which I think we touched on before, like the the creators of One Piece and Naruto, obviously, were close to him and made statements about it. But I encourage you, literally go read, like right. In fact, matter of fact, I'm going to read it to you because this like literally made me cry last night reading this. The creator of Naruto's like statement about Toriyama is like one of the saddest things I think I've ever read.
Damn.
Because it just shows you like how close these guys were and how much of like an influence that he had on them.
I mean, Dragon Ball kind
as
of
people
set
and creators.
the pace almost for like what a shonen anime is, almost, isn't it? Like, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
And then obviously that's where the whole meme comes from, so where you get like, I don't want to hear like kids these days, but it's like where the whole meme comes from, where people don't actually understand what that actually means. But the whole thing about like the big three, and it's like these were the big three shonen properties from Shonen Jump that followed on from Dragon Ball.
Right.
And like,
I mean, literally, Dragon Ball is what started tournament arcs in manga.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball is literally like the tournament arc, like originality. That's really funny. Like, I know Naruto had a tournament arc, One Piece had a tournament arc. Bleach, I actually haven't read Bleach, to be fair, so I don't know if Bleach has like some tournament kind of arc thing.
it
like
doesn't.
One Piece
but
had
they...
like a tournament kind of arc, like in Dressrosa, but that's like the closest thing I think of. Naruto had the Chunin exams, right? The Chunin exams, so that's what I'm thinking of. That the inspiration from there, and then I remember what's it called when Araku is doing part 3, I believe. One of the like editors in Shonen Jump, they were like, "Bro, you gotta do a tournament arc," and he was like, "Nah."
Well, for JoJo,
that's one thing I remember. JoJo's, yeah,
Yeah, for JoJo.
That's
funny.
for JoJo's because of Toriyama. They're like, tournament arc's crazy. Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho had a tournament arc as well.
Yeah.
So, like that is just massively inspired because of the 21st World Tournament, 22nd World Tournament, like all that stuff. Which is kind of nice that Toriyama, I mean, like, even like after the 23rd World Tournament, you had to do it where it's like a huge shift, where it's like now it's about like Goku's an alien and everything like that, which is why Dragon Ball Z, like the toy was there like, bruh, you got to make this Dragon Ball Z. This is different, right? Like, and Toriyama was like, okay, man, and that was a huge difference and change, right?
Well, it's funny because obviously in Japan, it's like a lot of people don't realize this, and I didn't growing up because, like I said, like originally I started watching Dragon Ball Z because that was what was on TV. I didn't know OG Dragon Ball was even a thing. But obviously in Japan, it's just called Dragon Ball, and like the next chapter after the end of the 23rd World Tournament with like this time skip is then just the first chapter of what is Dragon Ball Z, but it's just the next chapter of Dragon Ball, like, and it just continues
like,
going
like, from Goku leaving with Chi-Chi on Nimbus, and then the next chapter, Raditz comes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's insane. Like,
yeah, it's
a
like
week
X
later.
amount of years later, and then yeah, here comes
dude,
Raditz, and it's just, but
like,
it's just
I
like the next
remember
chapter. I
hearing
mean, like it's
stories
the
about
next
that.
week or something. If you're someone reading the manga, like in
Right,
Shonen Jump, or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. Like I remember hearing hearing a little bit about this a long time ago, like the sort of like stories about like people in Japan reacting to like Goku being an alien, because obviously like, you know, up until that point, right, it wasn't like, you know, obviously nobody knew that. And not to mention, right, Goku seemed very much so in place in a world filled with dinosaurs, King Furry, Piccolo,
Yeah.
you know, like all these creatures, right, that like, you know, are definitely not fully human, right, in terms
Yeah.
of like, you know, whatever they are. You know, a kid with a tail definitely does not seem out of place in a world like that, right? But you know, and then of course they had normal humans as well, but you know, I remember hearing like people you know, in Japan were shocked when that chapter dropped, when they found out that Goku you know, was an alien. Like it was like earth-shattering for a lot of people, which is like a kind of unsurprising, because could you imagine like, you know, growing up with a character like that, you know, they're like everything that you love, and then all of a sudden you're like, yup, they an alien.
That must have been, in a way, like I imagine some people probably didn't like it, but at the same time, that must be so cool. It's such a crazy like plot development.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously for us, like again, going back to my own experience, like you watch the first episode of Dragon Ball Z, and obviously they talk about Piccolo as if you're supposed to know who he is, and then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, and you're
Like
an alien,
Krillin,
by the
Bulma,
way, and it's just
Roshi,
like,
everyone.
huh?
Right, yeah.
Oh man, that's so good.
I mean, yeah, like when I was watching like Z, I was like, these people have to know each other. There's something going on. Like,
Yeah.
what am I missing? And there's like OG Dragon Ball's there, but we didn't know growing up, right?
Right.
So that's funny. But yeah, dude, it's just it's crazy. We were reading in chat, like someone was like right here, Kubo wouldn't have as much confidence writing Bleach without Toriyama's
Yeah.
word of curse.
I was
Would
gonna
he have
read
even
that out.
written Bleach? Because he was like, it's like unconfident doing so. Then Toriyama's words was like, "Do it, brah."
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
do
he
it, like,
literally said, "Just do it," and then he was
Yeah.
like, "Okay,
Dude,
bet."
and Bleach is so good as well. Bleach is one of my favorite anime. For me personally, I have it above Naruto, which I know is an unpopular opinion, but yeah, I love Bleach. So the fact that again, like the big three following on from Dragon Ball and Toriyama, like yeah, it's so cool to see that influence. And you mentioned it briefly as well. I think one thing we should mention at the end before we sort of wrap up as well is it's one of those things. You said it sort of exactly how I would have said it earlier. It's kind of weird to say that it's nice, because obviously it follows on from something that is obviously a very sad occasion, but it's been really nice to see all of that outpouring of stuff, like all across social media, all the people talking about their experiences with Dragon Ball, all the people doing stuff with the games. Like obviously I retweeted, I think it was Halvard made the tweet originally, but I retweeted it.
Yep.
It's got loads of comments and like retweets and stuff now. Obviously if you guys haven't seen it at all, a big thing that everybody's been doing, it's closed now, is setting the AGL Angel Goku as your profile picture in the game for a shout out for Toriyama. I think I did see a big post about Xenoverse. They were trying to get as many players together as possible in the lobby by like the dragon statue and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
All the art, all the like everything. Like it's been so cool to see all this outpouring of like appreciation and all these stories. Because again, like we said at the beginning, like, you know, we all know each other because of Dragon Ball. You know, you guys know, like, this is kind of what I do. That's my job now. Like, my job revolves around Dragon Ball. I joke about it, like, a lot of the time I make sure I'm wearing them for, like, you know, the videos and podcasts and stuff. But, like, I will have multiple Dragon Ball shirts. Even if I'm not wearing a Dragon Ball shirt, I'm probably wearing Dragon Ball socks. I have, like, Dragon Ball tattoos. Like, it's such a huge, like, it's just been such a huge thing in our lives. And it's very cool to see everyone sort of coming together and talking about it. And, you know, it's one of those things, regardless of what happens in the future, of what new stuff does come out, whatever changes there will be, like all of that stuff will still be there. It'll always be fun to go back and watch those like favorite moments from Z and stuff like that. So yeah, it has been really nice to see all of the support and all of the just kind of like happy memories and things like that, because it's been, I'm sure, like I say, people have been discussing them in the chat. We've talked about some ourselves, but I think a lot of us have like very fond memories of just the franchise, whether it's our experiences with it, with the people we were with and things like that. But it's something that's been very big for all of us. So it's definitely been nice to see sort of like the community all coming together. I think it's rare to have a day. We meme about it sometimes, but like on the Twitter community for Dragon Ball or Dokkan specifically, it's nice to have a day without any sort of like drama or anything going on. Everyone's just been super like come together, and yeah, it's been nice to see. But
And on that day, we achieve peace.
yeah, exactly. It's why actually, because obviously you guys will know in a minute when we wrap up, we decided, even though it is like a fun thing we do that's in like a high spirit, you know, it's supposed to be for good fun, but we're not doing a trash take segment today just because it kind of feels a little bit out of place really to do it for today's episode. So that'll be back for next week. But yeah, it's been all about the positivity for today. So it's yeah, but a very different episode for today, but it's obviously a very unique situation.
And honestly, like, it's kind of crazy because obviously, you know, everybody, we only found out about all of this literally last night. You know, because obviously the news was only dropped last night. So, you know, it's crazy that like in a day there has been all of this. And obviously, of course, we wanted to contribute in commemorating as well with this episode. I think the only other last thing that I just wanted to mention before we wrap up too is I don't remember if Minato mentioned this before we started the stream or after it, but I do think it's like it's very interesting, but also very cool the fact that I mean, I don't know if I would use the word cool, but I don't really know what other word to use to describe in this situation. The fact that like it was a week ago that he passed away, but I think that that's a great thing because obviously, you know, it gives the family time to mourn and to, you know, like appreciate him and pay their respects before obviously the world literally explodes with people talking about him. You know,
and it's like the thing is, I feel like a lot of times, like I see so many stories where news comes out about, you know, a certain celebrity's death or something like that, unfortunately, and then there's situations where family members don't even learn about it, and like it's like, oh, but then this, like I don't know, TMZ or something, right? Just like publishes it instantly, and gets like really advanced notice, and it doesn't give people time, like those people who are closest, time to breathe, time to grieve, take it in, before it's just spread everywhere, and it's like they get blindsided the most as the people who are closest, right? And I think they, again, like I said, handled it very well with the announcements. And yeah, even though it came as a shock to us, I think it's would have been a shock regardless, but now it allowed those people to have proper time to grieve and take everything in. But yeah, it was March 1st.
Yeah. Because I think it was that official tweet from the thing that everyone was like retweeting. I think it was like 3 a.m. my time. So for me, it was
March
like
8th in Japan. Right?
Yeah. So for me, it was like I woke up in the morning as I would do on any sort of Friday. Wake up, get ready to sort out my early morning stream, and then obviously open up Twitter, and then that was, you know, what was everywhere, and it was like, damn, definitely not what I had. Not the kind of thing you expect to wake up to see. So it's been a very heavy day for most of us, I would imagine. So
yeah, absolutely. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We really, really appreciate all of you coming through to today's episode. Obviously, yeah.
I was just going to say, sorry, we do have there was another super chat here, so we'll make sure we read that out from Philip Rodriguez. He says, side note, I played Chrono Trigger, considered one of the greatest in video games because I found out Akira Toriyama did the character designs.
Yep.
Oh, because I think I knew about the Dragon Quest stuff, but I don't think I've played a Chrono Trigger game before. So
Yeah, Chrono Trigger is I believe it's a SNES game, Super NES game, and yeah, that was a Toriyama game. He was the main man on that. Ironically enough, that you just said that. What do you call it? I just retweeted. Toriyama left a message for his kids in Chrono Trigger.
oh, that's awesome.
Which is super cool. Yeah, it's obviously an old game because of course it's from the Super Nintendo, but it is a game that is highly regarded by a lot of people as like just one of the best games of all time, a fantastic game, right? A fantastic RPG, JRPG, all that. It's a great game. I've never played it myself. I definitely intend to someday. But yeah, it is another awesome Toriyama property. And I mean, Toriyama's art style when you see it. Like if you look at Chrono Trigger, just like you look at Dragon Quest, you see it immediately. So yeah, definitely that is pretty cool as well. Yeah, there you go. There's the tweet. Which is awesome. That's super cool. Like, bro, that's just his type of humor, I swear.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We also have another super chat to end us off here from Drace with the $10. He says, on a lighter note, Minato and Dokkan Assets need to stop slacking, not posting the hot takes tweet. We'll have to start paying me for reminding Ningen.
Look, y'all, when it's my week to host, I remember sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, there's the key word. There's the key word, sometimes.
Bro said
Dokkan
sometimes.
Assets, this guy Dokkan Assets, what are you doing, bro?
Listen. I'm chilling out, bro. I need that fat reminder.
At one point, what you need to do is just write out like 10 or 11 different versions of the tweet and then just schedule them for like 11 weeks in a row or something.
I said that and then none of us did it.
Yeah, I see. Here's the thing, Minato. I was relying on you, bro, because I remember you mentioned a couple weeks ago you scheduled those tweets for so far in advance. So I was like, oh, my boy got this. He's already down pat. And then I saw the message,
like
no
2
tweet.
Weeks.
2 weeks? Nah. That's only 2 tweets. What?
Yeah, I said we should do that, and I scheduled it for like 2 weeks from now.
That's crazy. That's crazy. We need 10 tweets on my desk by 5 a.m. tomorrow.
Since you forgot, you got it this time.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I can do that. I'll take that for sure. W. You love to see it. But anyhow, yes, thank you everybody for coming by. We really, really appreciate it. Obviously, next week we will be back. We will, of course, be back, hopefully under more brighter circumstances. But next week when we return, we'll obviously be back to our usual, podcast shenanigans.
Our regularly scheduled programming.
Yes, exactly. That's a perfect.
It will be the Friday
the
before.
Characters.
Exactly. Friday. The next episode will be Friday the 15th, which means that 3 days later will be Monday the 18th, which will be Saiyan Day. So by next week's episode, we should know. At the very least, we should know who the character is. We hopefully will have gotten their kit or some details by then. But at the very least, we'll know who the character is by the next episode. Yeah. So stay tuned.
I would
for that.
think so. Mm-hmm. But we'll see. We probably will. I assume either it will just be like we'll have the either like the data download or like the kit revealed on Twitter or a teaser or something, because obviously it seems like they're doing it a little bit differently this year because of course by this time we already had a little bit of a tease, so obviously we're already pretty far past the point of them doing that like how they've done it in years past. So we will see what actually ends up being Saiyan Day. So yeah, next week that is what we will be back with. But with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. It was nice just kind of talking about good Dragon Ball memories of old. You know, it was very nice just talking about a franchise that we love so much, because obviously, you know, that's why we do what we do, right? That's why we create content and why we cover the game and everything like that, because obviously, you know, at the end of the day, it's our love of Dragon Ball, right? We would not be, of course, playing Dokkan without it. So,
Yep.
with that being said, of course, this has been me, Dokkan Assets, Minato's Flash, and Mass Ningen. Toriyama, thank you for everything. And with that being said, rest in peace, and we will see you in the next one. Have a good
Bye.
one.